It's time once again to go racing.
The pressure is really on now.
And it's pole position.
And it's pedal to the metal. Go, go, go!
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to PSGL. It is the penultimate round of the season in the top tier on the PlayStation platform, and we are at the Baku City Circuit, home of round 14 of season 29, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge, and joining me in the commentary box is Mark Alimonda. And Mark, probably a crazy race we're going to get tonight at Azerbaijan. Somehow I doubt it'll be as crazy as last night's real F1 race, but it should be non-stop action nonetheless.
Yes, love or hate this circuit, it promises potentially a lot of chaos out there on this particular track. I mean, you have, a little bit of everything on this track. You have lots of sort of fast corners, especially early on. And then, of course, the castle section, which is infamous. A little easier, though, the castle section, now that they've lowered that curb, so you can certainly cut it a little bit more without, unbalancing the car and hurtling you into the barriers on the right-hand side. Then, of course, Sector 3, once you get to the end of Sector 2, is all about top-line speed. So balancing the car difficult here, because you have to take away as much downforce as possible, Luke. Otherwise, you'll be an absolute sitting duck on the run up to the start-finish line. Yeah,
it's one of those where you're not really going to overtake in the medium speed corners, but in qualifying, that's probably where you're going to gain a lot of the time. So you have got to get that balance right. Similar in a way to the United States, where we were last time around, a track that requires lots of balance. And one team who had everything working perfectly last time was the McLaren team. Our first 1-2, a bit like in real life, the only team to get a 1-2 so far this season. It was Benjamin who took the victory, Jordan in second. But the big news for the championship, Jost's 5th place, meant that he secured the driver's title. Still plenty to play for behind him as we get those championship standings up. Jost 34 points ahead of Matthew Alder. That is enough to claim the title. Matthew is now 8 ahead of Duncan. Jordan just heading on above of his teammate, and then Sam Corby, George's Will, Dan Urko and Leo rounding out the top 10. What is still up for grabs is the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull 160, AlphaTauri 142. So 18 points between them, and Mercedes 125, McLaren 114, still in with a mathematical chance of taking the championship. And with Jost being the only full-time Red Bull driver here tonight, could be difficult for him to claim that Constructors for the Milton Keynes-based team.
Yes, that's going to be a massive disadvantage for Red Bull, only having one of their drivers out there, because of course reserves are not allowed to score against the Constructors team. So it's a big opportunity for AlphaTauri and Mercedes to keep themselves in the hunt. I mean, McLaren, yes, you could conceivably, they got a 1-2 last time, didn't they, Luke? They could get another 1-2 for the final 2 races, but that seems very unlikely that they'd be able to claw that back. So realistically, it's a 3-horse race, a Constructors' Championship, but it leaves us with some excitement. And yes, there was a lot going on last week. Some big controversy, certain incidents which took Duncan out of the running, sadly, and despite Blizzard's best efforts, the points gap in the end and his inconsistency in the second half of the season in the end was just too much for him to overcome. And Jost fully deserving of his championship. I mean, his consistency after winning the British Grand Prix earlier in the season, he completely dominated the second half of the season. I mean, until last week, he'd finished on the podium, 7 races in a row, which was an incredible run of form.
Yeah, certainly. And it was, of course, that incident heading down towards turn 12. Duncan in the net lead of the race, trying to work his way through those who started on the medium tyres, one of which was his VSR teammate, and in this championship, Jost, his championship rival's teammate, VSR Zander. Zander just moving across slightly in the braking zone to try and avoid a crash ahead of him. ends up inadvertently, or some might have, when they watched it, weren't thinking so inadvertently, ended up causing a crash behind him. But all seems to be well between them now, and Duncan, I imagine, focused on trying to get that runners-up slot for the second year in a row and trying to help that Mercedes team get the Constructors' Championship. We have got a few cars heading out there on the circuit now. 18 minutes of qualifying, of course, and then a 26-minute race. And it is going to be dry for both qualifying and the race, and that will be a huge relief for everyone.
Yes, this track is tricky enough in the dry, let alone in wet conditions where, again, as we talked about earlier, you have to balance the car between top line speed and downforce to get you through, particularly the very tricky Sector 2 and the castle section, of course. But yeah, I think this is going to be a very competitive race. I think the gloves are almost off now because the Drivers' Championship is done, and Duncan, who is just exiting the pit lane as we speak, was the race winner here back in season 28, so he would love to have a repeat of that tonight.
Yeah, won the race here last season to keep the championship alive against the McLaren Shadow Academy driver Wilson Hughes, Sparks, as he was formerly known, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind taking another victory tonight. And last time out, Duncan took his first pole position of the season, so it does look as though the Dutchman has started to find some qualifying form, and he'd probably think that might just be the thing that cost him a chance at taking this championship. Let's go on board, though, with Georges Nader, the Parnell Racing driver in the Alfa Romeo, as he heads down this extremely long straight, one of the longest flat-out sections in Formula 1, all the way from the exit of turn 16, DRS open, reaching speeds just in excess of 200 miles per hour, reaching about 325 kilometers per hour as you spot your braking point for turn number 1. Take as much curb as you dare on the exit, perhaps a bit too much for Georges, having to correct the car as he now brakes down towards turn number 2. I think on lap 1 we'll see a few cars getting caught on that inside curb. DRS open once again for the Alfa Romeo. We might see some drivers ducking and diving, weaving down this straight for the overtakes to go into the tight turn for number 3. The exit tighter than the entrance, so you need to be careful through that corner. Another 90-degree right-hander, giving this circuit a proper street circuit feel as you come through turn number 4, and then the chicane at 5 and 6. Again, turn 5 a lot more open than turn number 6, but you want to be not too greedy to make sure you get a good run. Turn number 7 here, you can take a lot of curb on that right-hand side, and Georges electing to do so. And now it is the infamous castle section. We've seen many drivers look stupid through there on the game and in real life as well, but Georges dealing with it quite well, again taking quite a lot of curb through the exit of that bit, and now flat out through 13 and turn 14, where the two Toro Rossos in 2018 nearly came together in what would have been a horrendous accident. Again, Georges taking that esports line through turn 15. It is quicker, but it can disturb the car if you take too much curb, and it's all about getting a good exit through turn number 16, the final in normal conditions, proper corners. Now it's all about being flat out through here. The only chance it won't be flat out is if you've got any damage to your car. Getting a good run, you can't slipstream off your teammates, of course, so no chance of getting any assistance as Georges is now heading towards the line. What is it going to be for the Alfa Romeo driver? 1:37.918, and just to compare that to what we saw in F2 early on, the fastest time was a 1:37.492.
Yeah, and that was nearly 4 tenths quicker than what Yus managed. Yus doing the fastest Sector 3, had a bit of trouble in Sector 2. He absolutely launched his car over the curbs near the end of Sector 2 and nearly smashed straight into the wall, but luckily he got the car under control, so he'll be wanting to take a little bit less curb on his next run. And it's actually an Alfa Romeo 1-2 at the moment, with Oggiano going slightly quicker than his teammate.
Yeah, Oggiano then getting himself up towards the top by 15 thousandths of a second. Will G getting into 3rd position then, and we'll talk slightly about Will. His last 2 races, he has scored as many points as in the preceding 11. He's really found some form, and they've become a team to be reckoned with at the end of the season, because Will's got that top line qualifying pace. All due respect to Sam Corby, I think he'd admit he's missing that, but Sam's race pace is absolutely fantastic as Duncan gets himself fastest now, first man into the 1:37.7s, but Williams really looking like a strong lineup.
Yes, I mean, who would have thought that? I mean, we all know Sam's reputation in this tier is well respected, lots of race wins, and he's come desperately close to winning the championship twice in the past. But Will G, I guess he went into the season with nothing to lose. His first campaign was literally pointless because he didn't score any points from his races. But this season, a vast improvement, and at times he's had the same pace as some of the championship contenders.
Yeah, especially getting his first podium a couple of weeks ago in Mexico. And a good result as well in America. It was a very fruitful trip to North America. Jack Eater comes across the line in 16th position, just ahead of world teammate Sam Corby. So after the first runs, it is Matthew Alder fastest, Duncan second, then Oggiano, Georges and Will G the top 5. So looking good at the moment for AlphaTauri and Mercedes to keep that Constructors' Championship alive. And reminder, for Red Bull to win the championship, they need to outscore AlphaTauri by 12 points and make sure they score no more than 6 less than the Mercedes team. McLaren can still mathematically do it, but they need plenty of 1-2s, and Red Bull to get less than 2 points for the final races of the season, which is very unlikely indeed. Also tonight we've got a return for Lars. He's now rejoined Vatia as a reserve driver, and he's of course reserving for Xander tonight. Mitchie up in 7th place. I don't know if we want to say what I think we're going to go ahead and say anyway. Aston Martin keep getting close to getting the points, but that run of points since the British Grand Prix, the last time they got into the points, it is now, I think, 7 pointless races for the Silverstone-based team. Fede getting so close last time out. Can they do it here?
Well, I think, at least for the neutral, will be absolute delight if the ultimate underdogs of this season grab a point here. And given the characteristics of this circuit, Luke, this is an opportunity for them. You know, there's going to be a few drivers, even some of the established drivers who potentially could make mistakes out there, or well-timed safety cars. If they, you know, as we expect, they might finish outside the top 10, starting on turn strategy. There is an opportunity for the teams lower in the Constructors' Championship to score some big points.
Yeah, certainly. It's one of those races where if your pace isn't fantastic, it's more about getting a setup that is very drivable and just sort of surviving, just making sure you don't get any penalties. I know perhaps not so much in these tiers, but definitely in the lower tiers. Every time I've raced around street circuits, it's been right. Just don't make a mistake. Don't get penalties. And you can get yourself a really decent result if that happens. Most of the drivers are now in the pits. We've got a few. Benjamin just heading out on their second run. As the season goes on, I mean, we talked about Will having a fantastic run of form. Benjamin's last 4 races. First, second, retired, first. Not bad at all.
No, not bad at all for a driver who started the season as a reserve and now a full-time driver, of course, in this year, and has certainly paid back the faith that PSGL put in him to transition him from reserve to a full-time driver with those 2 wins this season. And, you know, potentially, if he carries on that kind of form into next season, assuming he is around for season 30, he could potentially be a title challenger. But I just want to mention a few notes from the stewards. And in terms of the pit entry, a driver has to commit to that left-hand line, that entry line, you know, as early as it allows. You're not allowed to stay on the right-hand side, then cut back in across the line. For obvious reasons, at the speeds they're going, that could be very dangerous if you do that.
Yeah, certainly. I think I saw someone do it already in the qualifying session. You might get away with it in qualifying. You definitely won't do in the race. But we'll see what Benjamin can do then. He's going to be, by the looks of things, the first driver to set a second run. And he's got one of the Red Bulls close in behind. Quite a long street circuit, of course. It was the longest street circuit on the calendar before Saudi Arabia, but a much lower average speed. We're talking, I think it's only Spa that probably has lap times that are longer than around here. So you've really got to get your runs in quite early on, because you're not going to have too many opportunities to get a decent lap in.
I mean, the longest flat-out section here, of course, is from the end of Sector 2 to the end of the lap. It's over, 2 kilometers. I mean, and then they do that flat out, 2,000 meters, I should say. And that's the speeds that they carry up there, well over 200 miles an hour. Yet there are other sections. It's just a strange street circuit, because normally the track width at most street circuits is quite consistent, but here you have some really wide parts of the circuit, particularly Sector 3 and Sector 1, but then it really narrows up as soon as you go through Sector 1 and heading out towards the car section, where it's impossible for 2 cars to go wide there.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's ever seen a picture of the main pit straight on a non-race weekend. It's like 15, 20 lanes of traffic all turn into one. It looks like an absolute nightmare. I feel sorry for anyone who's about 17-year-old in Baku and is trying to learn to drive. It looks impossible to negotiate that junction. Brings me out in a cold sweat just thinking about it. But thankfully, these drivers don't have to worry about too much traffic, with it being a fairly long track. And Benjamin really striking that curb hard at turn 15. That's another one that the stewards are going to be looking out for, because the game does sometimes allow you to put all 4 wheels over that curb, so they are going to have to be careful around there. But Benjamin is still about 3/10 of a second up on his personal best at the moment, so could definitely challenge for maybe second, third row of the grid here as he comes across the line. Well, he comes towards the finish line, I should say, in the McLaren. DRS opening quite a long way down the straight, but you'll be seeing plenty of powerful slipstreams around here. And Benjamin does get himself up into third place, 137.854 for the former F2 champion. Yeah,
a really good lap from Benjamin there. Eustace has gone purple in Sector 2. This is a much better lap from him. Did a much better job of that particular curb that we saw Benjamin clobbing over, and I think this could be threatening for the front row here from Eustace. He crosses the line. What's it going to be for the new champion? And it is pole for the time being, and just over a tenth quicker than Matthew Alder.
Not bad whatsoever there from Jordan. Perhaps a bit more of a, well, from Yost I should say, a bit more of an off, if fifth place is an off race last time out, but with the form Yost has been in, I'm sure he'd have been delighted that he got the championship, but wanted to keep that podium run up as Jordan does get himself up into 11th place for now. We've just seen another driver improve. Matthew Alder is improving though at the moment, 2/10 up, despite not really lighting the sector times purple at this moment, but it looks like it is going to be good enough to go fastest of everyone. 1:37.601 for Matthew Alder. Dan Aiko absolutely flying at the moment, half a second up on his personal best. The Ferrari driver showing glimpses of form throughout the season, comes across the line into 4th place, starting to hot up in this session. We've now got 4 drivers in the 1:37.6s.
Yeah, I mean, Duncan just losing a little bit of time, but improves up to P3. So yeah, it's the usual suspects. It is the 3 drivers who have dominated this championship this year, or this season, I should say. And you know, they're going to be the 3 competing. But yeah, some really impressive times from Dan Aiko, who again, another of those drivers who at times has really impressed.
Yeah, certainly. We said it all season long. There's a lot of pacey drivers in here, as Fusilio does a perfect demonstration of how you are allowed to take the pit entry there. Bravo from the Haas driver, I must say. But yeah, Matthew, Yost and Duncan have had the pace, but they've had the consistency as well. And not only has Yost, he's secured the championship, Duncan's third in the moment. He can't be caught for that top 3 slot, so it just shows how much above in terms of consistency those drivers are. Sam Corby, he improved quite a lot on that run, going out on a set of the soft tyres to get himself up into 9th. Lars gets himself into 16th, one of the longest circuits on the calendar, less than a second separating all 20 drivers. Yeah, and it just shows you how sort of in tune the grid is now in terms of, you know, the way the handling is, sort of really used to the game. It's been out so long now. It seems like a lifetime ago it came out. You know, we're in the depths of December, and there's some drivers who, you know, had difficult starts to the season who are really coming into form, and they're almost be thinking, well, I wish there were a few more races because I'm in really good form now. But you know, we've only got this in Brazil next week, and that's it for PSGL F1 in 2021. And it's been a lot of thrilling action, and I've enjoyed every second of it. Yeah, you might have seen, of course, the announcement about the Season 30 over on the PC side. It's going to be Ginger Andy taking over from George Morgan, and Dan Field will be keeping his place. There'll be more announcements about PlayStation platforms, about the other PC tiers, about what the calendar will be for next season. So make sure to keep an eye out on the Twitter channel at PremierSimGL for all the latest news. But we've got not too much longer to go in this session, about 5 minutes remaining then. Fusilio and Will and Benjamin just starting to head out on their outlaps. It's really now or never. We saw in F2, Gil gained quite a lot from an accidental slipstream. Now, you're not supposed to have a slipstream, but there's always that little element of luck. If you can get just a tiny bit of a toe that can gain you 0.5 of a second in the right place of the circuit, just look at how close the grid is. It could very easily make the difference between you starting on pole position or starting in the middle of the top 10. Yes, I mean, when you're synchronizing that with your teammate, of course, it's very easy to get the toe, but actually timing that accidentally as Gil did, it's very difficult indeed, because if you get too close to the car in front, you're going to be massively affected by the dirt here, and that will ruin your lap time in Sector 2, no question, and you won't be able to make it up in Sector 3. So yeah, timing that, and some of the drivers will be thinking about that. It's going to be very tricky indeed, although as it turned out, in the end, the driver who got pole position in F2 had no toe at all. So I think the top 3 certainly will not be thinking about that at all. They'll want their own space, and they'll want to define the lap on their own terms. Yeah, of course, when you're doing it with a teammate, like we've said, it's easy to control. It's easy to make sure they don't get in your way in the twisty parts of the circuit, especially the end of Sector 1 and Sector 2. You're doing that with another car who's setting up for a lap or on a hot lap themselves. You are going to find yourself stuck in quite a lot of dirty air. Will G just on the edge of the top 10 at the moment, 9 thousandths of a second slower than Sam Corby, who is just slightly ahead of him in the championship as well. Will perhaps a bit too deep there into turn number 3 and again into turn number 4, not really attacking the curb too much, perhaps wary of how that would unsettle the car as he comes through the first sector time. He is slightly up, nearly half a tenth of a second up on his previous best time, which again doesn't need to find too much more time, could easily just over a tenth of a second, gets himself up there with the Alfa Romeos at the moment, so plenty of time to be found around this circuit. Now's the time, if you're streaming, if you're one of these drivers, you're staying absolutely silent and you are fully concentrated on nailing the apex of all 20 corners here at the Baku City circuit. He has got a car up ahead of him, of Paxi, who gets well out of the way on the inside line. That'll be exactly what Will would have wanted to see at that part of the circuit. Not really taking that curb too much at turn 15. It means he can take a bit of a better exit actually through there, as he now loses a tiny bit of time actually in that middle sector. It's all really about how good of an exit can you get through turn 16, turning the wheel as little as you dare, getting as close to the concrete walls that line this circuit as you dare. And what is it going to be for Will G in the Williams DRS opening now on the back of that car, and he, in the end, has come into the pits.
Yeah, he must have felt like the improvement was not enough to justify setting the time, so he'll actually be hoping that someone beats him so he can go on to the alternate strategy. That's a clear indication where he does that. So, Rafael there, aka Blizzard, former two-time PSGL F1 champion, who is guaranteed a top 3 finish this season, now battling away with Duncan for that runners-up position, which is very close now after Duncan's issues last week and Blizzard's revival in form, shall we say, in recent races. Heading through the first sector, actually down slightly on his best time, looking at the telemetry, but only just. I mean, he is still in provisional pole at the moment. Use is starting his lap as well, and just behind it, actually no, Duncan is actually ahead of him on the road. So Blizzard will be finishing his lap first, heading now towards turn 16, which is arguably the trickiest corner on the track now that the car section doesn't have that deadly curb anymore, and he is a tenth up, fastest sector 2 of anybody as he heads out onto the main straight.
Yeah, George is Nadir though. He comes towards the finish line and takes provisional pole position on a 1:37.405. He was flying in the middle sector. Matthew Alder's going to hope to lead. He's flying in the middle sector as well. What can the former PSGL F1 champion do? Can he take pole position here as he heads towards the finish line? Checkered flag is out, just misses out by less than 200ths of a second. Things are getting pretty close here. Paxi, he's improving at this moment. Will he get himself up inside the top 12 at this, well, inside the top 10 at the moment? He could get around about where Joost and Duncan are here. Joost isn't really improving too much. Fede gets himself up into 4th. Paxi goes up into 3rd. We're seeing quite a few different names getting towards the order. Duncan has invalidated. Joost, he's not too far up at this moment in time. Only half a tenth of a second. So he's going to need to really nail, well, hope he's nailed turn number 16 here. Otherwise, he's going to find himself 4th at best. Joost heads towards the line, and the best he can do is 4th position. Sam Corby dives it into the pits. I think Lars, he's backed off as well, as he know he is still pushing towards the finish line. Lars, in the end, can only get himself up into 16th, and it is George's pole position. Starting to show some of that form from the start of the season, where he got multiple podiums, but that's the first time he's been P1 in qualifying. Great lap from the Lebanese driver.
Mitchie, look at this. Aston Martin are back. Look at that. 5th and 6th tonight for them. Unbelievable.
I was not expecting that. I'd seen everyone had completed their 1 lap on the tyres, but no, of course on this game you can get a 2nd lap in your tyres, and Mitchie proving that. 5th and 6th for Aston Martin. They've got a fantastic chance, by far their best for a long time, of getting points, and it has been Mitchie who's got all 11 of them so far this season. But it is the Alfa Romeo of George's who takes pole position here at round number 14 of the season. He's had a 2nd place so far. Can he convert it to his first victory? Matthew Alder alongside him on the front row of the grid as he looks to secure 2nd in the championship and perhaps get Alfa Tauri ahead in the constructors. Paxi, brilliant job. Only his 3rd race in the top tier, and he qualifies 3rd. Joost in 4th. The 2 Aston Martins Who saw that coming? Fede and Michi, 5th and 6th. Duncan is 7th, tied on time with Danerco. Ogiano and Jordan round out the top 10. Jordan's teammate, Benjamin, is 11th. He'll have a free choice of tyres, as will Walters. The 2 Williams of Sam Corby, Will J. The 2 Hassers of Fusilio and Jaquita. Lars, Cornet, Asicombe and Casper down in last place. Still within a second of pole position, showing just how close this field is.
I know. I mean, there's fine margins, but it seems to be the drivers who excelled the best at Sector 2. That's what made the difference, in the slower corners, Castle section, and of course, turn 16. Use actually struck the wall in his final run. That's why he lost time. Didn't damage his wing, but it was enough to sort of lose him a tenth or two at the end. He did improve by 0.03, but it wasn't enough to get him onto the front row of the grid. But yeah, I mean, Aston Martin, after all their struggles this season collectively with their reserve drivers and only one full-time driver most of the season, I mean, this is a huge opportunity for them to get some points today, even if one of them is a reserve. But yeah, a really mixed up grid, Luke. I really didn't expect that, and that should set it up nicely for a really, really nice race, because there's some really fast drivers who I feel have underperformed out there today, at least in qualifying, but that may be part of the plan.
Yeah, the 2 McLarens, I think, definitely after last week, we'd have expected them to be slightly further up the order, but it's fair to say they've been consistently inconsistent so far this season. So was George's, but maybe, just maybe, that will change here and we will see another different winner this season around the Baku City Circuit. First used in 2016 for the European Grand Prix. It combines the new and old on the edge of the Caspian Sea, just over 6 kilometres, 2 DRS zones, and it is at one down towards turn 1, where you will expect to see the majority of the action. As we take a look at what tyres everyone is on, and it looks like Lars and Casper going for quite an aggressive strategy, both of them starting on a fresh set of softs.
Yes, well, I mean, Casper had probably his worst qualifying session of the season. I think he invalidated every single run by the looks of it. Actually, he did get one run in at the end, but yeah, Casper, well, we have seen him do dramatic charges from the back in the past, but it would be something extremely special indeed to get, even high up into the points at this stage.
Yeah, certainly. He's one of the highest drivers in the championship, yet to get a podium, and we spoke quite a few times about his bad luck. It looks like, unfortunately, maybe just a bit of his own doing here, but we'll see what he can do. We know he's a quick driver. If the strategy works out right, if things go out right with the pit stop, yes, we normally see drivers on the alternate strategy go for a set of medium tyres, but if we get a safety car lap 4 or lap 5, they're gonna have a big decision to make if you're starting on a set of mediums. Yes,
absolutely, and the tyres seem to burn up a bit quicker on this version of Baku than it did on the previous game, so top runners won't be out there too long before they're thinking about the pit stop, but they may be thinking, well, hopefully we get an early safety car before we have to do that, so we get a free pit stop and aids us in terms of our strategy. But yeah, Duncan certainly showed in qualifying he's got more pace than. Oh, wait a minute! I've just had a crash. Are you still in the game?
I am still in the game. We've had Georges join the session and Georges has left the session, so we may well end up getting a restart here. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully things will be able to get themselves back together. Hopefully, for George's sake, he can get back into the session almost instantly. And likewise, of course, with Mark as well, because I get a funny feeling this is going to be a pretty exciting race, and I'm not sure my voice would cope 26 laps of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
I was going to say that I think Duncan's first task will be to try to clear the 2 Aston Martins. I think he has more pace than them. He invalidated his final run. I think he would have been ahead of them. So he needs to clear them quickly, because if he doesn't, I think the top 4 will gallop away from the 2 Aston Martins early doors.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this goes. Georges, I still don't think, is in the session here, so this might be a big blow for him and a big bonus for Matthew Alder as the final car of Casper just comes into position. He's going to be hoping for a good start. He's got a fairly long run down towards turn 1 at the back of the grid. A lot longer than the view of George's AI and Matthew at this moment in time. As we wait for the start lights to come on here at the Baku City Circuit. There they are now. We have got 5 lights. And we're underway for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And you can see there, Matthew getting a fantastic start on the inside. Paxi taking advantage of the ghost car to try and go through it. And go all the way around the outside to take the lead coming out of the first corner. It is Paxi in the lead. George's car still in second. He is back in possession. Matthew is third. Yost now, actually, getting his way up into third place. George is fourth. The two Alfa Romeos are still in there. They're sort of swapping around going further back in the field. Plenty of slipstreaming started already. Mitchie obviously again taking advantage of that to work his way up the order. Benjamin and Walters almost battling there for 11th and 12th place. Good start from Walters to get himself that far up the order. George is still plummeting down the field. I think he is now back in control of his car. An absolute disaster for him though. Nothing he could do after what was a fantastic qualifying session for him. Probably did the sensible thing of not rejoining during the formation lap, as that can cause a few issues, but it is Paxi. He had the racing line at the start and he basically had a clear run and he's took full advantage of that.
Yes, certainly a bit of a gap for him to go into, and that puts him back. I'm back in the session, thankfully, and this glorious sunshine above the streets of Baku. And yes, now Blizzard's going to have to now go ahead and try and chase him down. And actually, a bit of a mistake from Juice behind. A little bit of a gap forming top two, but I think Juice will regain that time back with the slipstream on the main straight. Great start from the Aston Martins, P4 and P5, of course, partly because of George's problems. I'm just having a look. Yeah, he's got back control of his cars. That's great news. Dan Aiko after save. Duncan not getting the start he wanted. He dropped a position.
Yeah, bad start then from Duncan. After what was looking like a great qualifying, he didn't get a last run in. And that proved to be really costly in the end, as here comes Blizzard then. He's not hanging around whatsoever. Ends up actually, in all of that, somehow setting the fastest lap of the race. Down the inside he goes, used a lot of ERS. He takes the lead, and Paxi, with a dreadful one through turn number one, won't be able to fight back into the third corner. No DRS until down this straight on the next lap. But I think it is on the run down towards turn one on lap number 4 where we'll see the first real moves coming. Asakome into the pits. He's gone onto a second set of medium tyres, I imagine. That is for front wing damage as well. We'll get the position changes up after all of that. George is obviously one of the biggest losers, down 6 places because of all them incidents. Michi jumping George's and his teammate Dan Aiko going up a few places as well. Quite a lot happening here.
Yeah, I think the timing screens are just messing up briefly. Hopefully they'll clear up again once we get through the first sector. It looks like Fede's car is just ghosted for me. I'm not sure it has for you. I don't know if he's just fallen out of sync somehow.
Yeah, we have got that at the moment. Where you're seeing him as in where his car is positioned between Mitchie and between Dan Aiko is correct. He is in 5th place at the moment. He hasn't spun. He's not down in 20th, but that would just sum up the season Aston Martin are having at this moment in time if connection issues were to cost them. Was about to say that's causing a split in the field, but of course Dan Aiko is 1.1 seconds behind Mitchie, but he has got a car in between himself and Mitchie, so perhaps ignore that gap ever so slightly. Whether that will cause problems with the DRS next time around, I'm not so sure. Blizzard in the lead of this race, our Paxi. We saw last time around, Blizzard used a lot of his ERS, a lot of his electrical energy to try and get an overtake done here. Paxi not using so much, but it doesn't look like Matthew is either. And in the end, Paxi decides to stay behind, perhaps thinking, of course, about the DRS into turn 3.
And George is recovered. Oh my goodness. Well, George has just got moved on Dan Aiko, and the AI car, well, I assume it's AI of Fede, just got smashed into the wall. But I don't know if he's out of sync. He's now at the back on my screen. So yeah, bizarre circumstance. I'm not sure what's happening with him, unfortunately. But yeah, I think Paxi's just saving tyres for the time being, trying to stretch these softs out as much as possible. I think if there's the opportunity, he will go for the move with the DRS. So yeah, it's going to be difficult for Blizzard to defend it, because it looked like previous lap when after Paxi had been overtaken, he was just following him on the straight up to turn 3. Seemed like he had really good straight line speed even without using batteries. So it's going to be difficult for Blizzard to defend this position.
Yeah, and it's all getting a bit tight here. Dan Aiko, I think, got pushed offline earlier on, and Gamer and Walters almost going side by side through the castle section, and quite wisely from Walters there, deciding just to give up that position for now. So that is Benjamin up into the top 10, but I don't know whether Dan Aiko has got any slight damage, because he seems to be losing quite a few places here. No, it doesn't appear to be. Fede does have massive damage according to the TAS system, so even if he's not desynced, he's going to be in trouble. And Jakita and Cornet also with some slight damage, but it is not the longest train at the moment. We've only got a 4-car train at the front, which is good news for all those cars that are in it. Here's the man at the back at the moment. It is Mitchie. This will be the first time around with DRS. Will Paxi this time decide to go for the move? Matthew sort of just moves a bit towards the middle of the track. Not really too much of defence. And again, Paxi's not interested in going for that move this time around. Now, he can get away with that while Joost is a bit further behind. If Joost gets any closer, that could be risky.
Yes, I think Paxi could have gone for a dive, but again, I think at this stage it's not worth it. You want to stretch those softs as far as you can, because especially the rear tyre wear on the softs is quite severe around here. Not quite China levels, but it's not far off, to be honest. Very difficult to keep those rear tyres in good shape on those used softs. So I think they're just playing a bit of a waiting game. But as they get to the end of the first stint, no sign of any safety cars, of course. It's been fairly clean so far, has to be said. Just behind him, George Nader has recovered up to P5, but now he's got Duncan, who seems to have recovered from a sluggish start and is really putting the pressure on him. And George is desperately trying to chase back up to the top 4 to get back within the DRS, about 2.5 seconds behind Mitchie.
Yeah, and I think that really shows you the effects of the DRS at the start of this lap. Oh, that is Ogiano, his teammate, and I've no prizes for guessing where he's got that one wrong. Turn number 8, coming into the castle section. Doesn't look like he's got any major damage on his car, which is quite miraculous, if that is true. And yeah, he's got slight front wing damage, but I think he's got away with one there. Ogiano all the way down into 16th place, and Casper right on the back of him, sort of getting held up by the Alfa Romeo driver. So, while one is recovering through the field, the other Alfa Romeo starting to find things a bit difficult. Just about to come on to lap number 5. It has been a fairly clean start to the race. We've had no retirements. It's only really Asacombe and Fede that have had major damage. Here comes Paxi again. Is he going to go for it this time? He's decided not to. Further back though, Duncan quite early on the straight, getting ahead of George's.
Yeah, and Daneko opting to go for an early pit stop. Well, actually, I wouldn't say it's early for the softs at all. Actually, any damage, you're going to have to get a wing replacement and a virtual safety car. So actually, that will save him a little bit of time. So that may come into handy later. Fede has lost his entire wing, and that's probably what's caused the VSC.
Yeah, I was just trying to look through there to see what has caused the virtual safety car. But of course, Fede is slightly desync, so on my screen he's still showing part of his front wing. But yeah, I'm not sure what has caused that. But we have got a virtual safety car here at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So all the drivers having to, of course, go towards that delta. Daneko gaining a tiny bit of all that, and there we go. Not long whatsoever. DRS is enabled. Joost very close to the back of Paxi. He's not going to be able to make a move through here. DRS trains, of course, really affecting these drivers at the moment. No one gaining too much, and we've got that split appearing in the field between the top 7 on the softs and Benjamin, who's in 8th place on that set of the medium tyres. This is probably good news for those on the soft tyres, that they've been able to get away.
Yes, I mean, that's definitely saved them a little bit so far, but it can be, when you get stuck in a sort of train out of range of the top 4 like this, you can lose a lot of time in traffic. But I suspect we will be seeing some pit stops from the leaders very soon. Daneko definitely saved a bit of time under that VSC, so that could definitely put him back into play. Maybe not top 4, but possibly around where Duncan and George's is if he gets a decent undercut.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Joost was quite a lot closer to the back of Paxi, coming through turn number 16 there. Perhaps a bit too close, and here comes Paxi again. This time, he has decided to go for the move. So that is the Alpine into the lead of the race, as we see Mitchie, Georges and Jordan all come into the pit. So Paxi takes the lead of this race. His train at the front goes down towards 3 cars. Now, he's got a bit more ERS as Matthew Alder, and again, Paxi really fighting those rear tyres coming out of turn number 2. That exit costing him, and not having the DRS means he's not really got a hope in hell's chance of holding on to that lead for long. Matthew back into the lead of this race, and you can see what you said about the undercut there, because Daneko has managed to get ahead of Georges.
Yeah, and that's exactly it was a combination of the undercut, but also he definitely saved a second or two with the timing of that virtual safety car. But Georges may think about coming back. No, definitely too far back, not worth the risk. So Daneko, but the only problem is Daneko's not in DRS and Mitchie up ahead, who's in a really good position at the moment. So I think Daneko's going to be under huge attack from Nader and Jordan. So I think that's a battle you've got to keep an eye on, because that's a potential 3-wide situation right there.
Yeah, certainly. We know Georges obviously has the pace around this circuit, whether he can now fight back to maybe get a podium after a hugely unfortunate disconnection early on. Paxi locking everything up into turn number 15. Joost going over the curb. You get a funny feeling that they're just ruining the engine, their tyres, to get ready to come into the pits here, because they're not saving them whatsoever. By the look of this lap, Matthew Alder as well using quite a lot of ERS. Almost broke away by 1 second on this lap, and he's got that blue pit sign on his telemetry, and he's sticking far over to the left-hand side of the circuit, and Joost is as well. And I think in the end he's decided to carry on an extra lap here to maybe not get held up by Paxi. So Joost is staying out. All of the other soft runners, Duncan very aggressively into the pits there as Fusilio gets ahead of Sam Corby and sets the fastest lap of the race. That shows you how good those medium tyres are at this moment in time. Here comes Georges though on the back of Daneyko, and in the end Jordan is a bit further back. Straightforward move for the Alfa Romeo driver. Where they're going to come out relative to the rest of the
look
pack.
out for Mitchie.
Has jumped Paxi.
He has, yeah. A really good outlap from him. And interestingly, Duncan had the best rear tyre wear of any of the top 5 before they all pitted. So that certainly could come into play on this long stint on the mediums. But yeah, Mitchie doing a great job with his outlap. Juice, he'll have better tyre wear later on, but I'm not sure about staying out an extra lap on the softs. Although he could, of course, get a safety car, which would really bail him out. So he did get some yellows, although for no reason. It was literally yellow in an empty part of the track, so I don't know if that was a desynced car somewhere. But Joost, of course, will be coming into the pit lane next. But trouble is, he could get badly undercut, so he's going to have to use up a lot of his battery to try and negate that. Otherwise, I think he could be maybe net P4, P5, rather than net P3 he was earlier.
I mean, you just have to look at the gap between himself and Benjamin at this moment in time. It is just coming down. It was over 5.5 seconds at the start of this lap. It's now 4.1 seconds here. The gap between Joost and Matthew Alder is 14.5 seconds. He's going to be a long way down the order as Ogiano has retired from the race, and that is a safety car. All Joost's Christmases have come at once, 19 days early for Joost.
Wow.
And sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, I mean, although a lot of cars coming to the pit lanes, you might get held a little bit. I mean, I don't know, it's going to be very tight in terms of getting out ahead of, because they are just crossing the line now, and of course when they cross the line they'll be able to go a little bit quicker to catch up to the safety car. This is going to be very close, but yeah, he's not going to lose as much time as he would have done. What tire did he go on actually? Was it no, it was the meat. I thought it was softs for a second. I was like, no, it can't be. Yeah, he's come out behind Paxi, I believe. So yeah, I think he would have lost probably at least places to Georges and Daneyko as well. Duncan lost out big time there, I think. He's in P13.
Yeah, has Duncan come back into the pits?
I don't know. When did he pit? Did he pit? He pitted. Did he pit the same lap as Joost, or is it? No, he couldn't have done.
No, he did pit before Joost. No, he has only done one stop. That's Duncan, so he's just plain lost out in all that safety car period. I mean, he started in 7th place. His teammate started in last place. And look at that. Casper now is in 14th. He won't have to pit again. And because Casper and Lars, outside the top 10, went for a set of the soft tyres, they can now go onto a set of mediums. And that is, of course, using both types of tyre. All the others outside the top 10 started on the mediums and have had to go for a set of hards. Whether we'll see them come in again for a second set of mediums, because that would fulfill the requirement, even doing that one lap under the safety car, we'll have to wait and see here. But yeah, definitely Duncan losing out quite big in that. Joost just shows how powerful the undercut was. Even with a much less time costly pit stop than all the other drivers, he's still lost out a place in all of that.
Yeah, I mean, Duncan was around 2.5, 3 seconds behind the top 4. And then he came out, of course, behind sort of the gaggle cars who were, on the longest stint on the mediums. And that's where, he obviously would have gained a lot of positions, but because of the time of that safety car, that's why he's ended up where he is. So it's through no real fault of his own. He pitted when he had to off those softs. But yeah, that's an absolute nightmare. I mean, that really, really screws up Mercedes, chances of construction. But it may have turned that into a 2-horse race. So it's Blizzard ahead of Mitchie. I mean, Mitchie, he is a full-time driver, so these points will count for the construction championship. I mean, this is about as good an opportunity as Aston Martin are going to have of getting points. And I really hope that they get it.
Yes, certainly. I mean, his teammate, despite what it says, is down, I think, in 17th at the moment, behind Cornet. So things aren't really going fantastically for him. But Mitchie, one of the, I think the only pad driver in this division, just shows what a good job he's done as Sam, Will and Corney are taking the advantage to do that hard, medium strategy. And we'll just go on board with Will here because there was a new F1 patch today which said for double stack is a lot quicker, as that camera angle is absolutely dreadful. And yeah, there we go, that is a much quicker double stack from the Williams team. So that's interesting for drivers that are in other leagues to watch out for. He did lose out ever so slightly, but nowhere near as much as you would have done pre-patch.
Yes, of course, we had the Sunday tiers yesterday who wouldn't have had that new patch, and it was released today. So, one race of the Formula 2 2021 season, and we've got the 2021 cars, so we'll probably use those once and then put them to bed. But yeah, one more race of the season for this tier after this one, and at the moment it's looking very good for Mafia to pick up another win as he continues his very strong end of season form. Winner, of course, in Mexico, third place in the USA, and it's a season that started so strong for him. It just kind of lost his way in the middle of the season, and as he hit his imperious peak form, and just wasn't able to find that consistency. But no, he certainly, I think the last two races and this one, as it stands, reminding people how quick and how good he can be.
Yeah, I feel it was if he had a bad qualifying session that just sort of set the tone for the entire race meeting, and he wasn't able to ever recover from those bad qualifying sessions. But he's got that qualifying form back. Qualified second here, almost became a net first with George's disconnection, but Paxi getting such a good start, took the lead briefly, and now it is all up to Matthew Alder. Safety car is in this lap, so hopefully we'll get 17 laps of green flag action. But as I've said many times before, safety cars breed safety cars, and as we saw in Jeddah yesterday, red flags can quite often breed red flags. But it's all up to Matthew now. You've got to get the restart rides around this track. You don't want to be giving Mitchie a nice, lovely long slipstream down towards turn 1.
Yes, I mean, even in the lowest of F13 tiers, the tactic generally was to go as late as possible to the start-finish line and then go, just to give them no chance of overtake. So I think this will be the pattern of the restart until, they're virtually on the start-finish straight, and then Blizzard will weave a bit, and then suddenly he will go full throttle, and hopefully he has enough temperature in the rear tyres. Doesn't want to accidentally do a Grosjean and hit into the wall.
Nah, that was Ericsson's fault anyway. We all know that. Mitchie and Matthew did get very close a few times there on that straight, and I think now he has gone, and he's got that pretty well. Not as well as Yost got it, though. He's going to get ahead of Paxi here and might be able to get ahead of Mitchie as well. Down towards turn number 1, Paxi and Mitchie going side by side. The Alpine's gone ever so slightly deep, and that allows the Red Bull of Yost to get up into third place, but nailed the restart. Did Matthew Alder. He's in the lead of this race. Mitchie in second, Yost in third, Paxi and George is battling for fourth and fifth here. The Alfa Romeo right in the wheel tracks of the Alpine, not able to get that move done, and knows he can't afford to go too deep, otherwise he might be a threat for some of the cars behind. Fusilio on his hard tyres, trying to get ahead of Walters. Can't do anything at this moment in time. Those on the mediums behind just having to play the patient game for this first lap. They're going to have to get a move on, though, because those mediums will wear quicker than the hard tyres. No danger of them not getting towards the end, but you'd think they don't want to be stuck behind the 3 hard runners for too much longer.
What a restart by Matthew. I mean, 1.7 gap to Mitchie. I mean, DRS won't be enabled, of course, until the lap after the next one, after a safety car restart. But yeah, I mean, that is a crucial advantage at this stage, and he is galloping away from the Aston Martin behind. Now, Mitchie's just got to keep a calm head now. He's got some very quick drives behind him, and he's out of the DRS zone at the moment. A massive clobber of the curb. Use likes to really aggressively attack turn 16 like that, but occasionally does unbalance the car a little bit, lost a little bit of ground to Mitchie as a result. Paxi will be desperately trying to regain some of the momentum, was caught a little bit unawares, and Use, I think, nailed the restart best out of the top 4, which allowed him to get back into that P3 position, taking advantage of the luck he got with that safety car. But look at that, Mitchie with the straight on speed is regaining some time with the slipstream on Blizzard ahead.
Yeah, so Mitchie just safe in that position for now, so we'll have to wait and see how things go in this race. Sam Corby and Casper, some of the older heads in PSGL F1, they're battling for 13th and 14th at this moment in time. Both of those obviously going towards the end, and the wise old head of Sam going for medium hard for one lap and then mediums again. That could just turn out to be the best possible strategy. Lars all over the back of Fusilio. Yes, he's in a Red Bull, but he's a reserve, so that won't count towards the Constructors' Championship. If things stayed as they are, Mercedes, I believe, would be out of the Constructors' battle. Red Bull would still be leading the championship, but only by 12 points. As we've got a yellow flag in Sector 2, I think that is just a bit of desync accident, not something the drivers need to be worried about. Cornet gets ahead of Jacques Eater. He's up into 16th now, is the Alpha Tauri driver, and Joost again all over the back of Mitchie. Will he go as aggressively through turn number 15 as Paxi becomes the first driver to pick up a time penalty?
Yes, time penalties certainly less of an issue normally than tracks we've been at previously, like Mexico and USA, were very easy to pick up time penalties. So yeah, Paxi picking it up just after the castle section, and given the way that the pack is now so close because of the safety car, that could be pretty crucial for his chances of getting onto the podium here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect the pack is going to be this close, with a few bigger gaps maybe, until the end of the race. On barring another safety car, we're not going to see any drivers coming into the pits again, but damage as well. Paxi all over the back of Joost here. He seems to have plenty of straight line speed and nailed the exit off the final corner, and Joost just sort of weaves to the left. Paxi follows, fastest lap of the race. You will get a point for that if you're in the top 10. But he is just going to stay behind for now. Third man in a train, always very difficult to pass, but it does look like he's got the pace if he wants to do so. That Rogue Marshall's out again at turns number 11 and 12. Here comes Joost though with the DRS on the back of Mitchie, and now, if the drivers are seeing that, that could cause problems. We saw this early on in the season with, I think it was Asseco at Netherlands, where we got a phantom full course yellow. And it took a few laps for the drivers to think, you know what, we might as well go for this and get the penalty removed. I wonder if we're in a similar situation here.
Well, I hope not, because, you know, this race was becoming really, really interesting. DRS speed enabled, which will, and Mitchie is going to be under enormous threat potentially from Joost and Paxi.
Yeah, he is indeed here, but the drivers, well, they're pretty much single file for those parts of the circuit anyway, so whether they are going to go for the racing or not, I'm not so sure. But we are in this strange situation here now where we've got a phantom virtual safety car all the way around the track, and there's not a lot the drivers can do. If they do go for the moves, they will get a penalty, but they will be able to get it removed, of course, at the end of the race. And if the driver passes them back straight away, they might not even end up getting that penalty. But here comes Joost on the back of Mitchie. Will the DRS be enabled here? Because we have, of course, got yellow flags down the start-finish straight. So we're going to wait and see. It is enabled, and he is going to go for that move on Mitchie then. Down the inside goes the Red Bull driver. Nice and easy, a long way before the straight, and that is Joost into second place. It looks like Pax is going to try it as well, all the way around the outside at turn number 1. Fantastic move from the Alpine. Is Mitchie going to be able to fight it back, though, into the second corner? Yes, he is.
Yeah, and to be honest, though, I think Paxi backed off to not to get a time penalty because he was definitely past Mitchie, but must have got that. So, yeah, Joost picks up time penalty. Now, the problem is, yes, if the race goes all the way to the end from here, but if he has to pit again, he'll have to serve it and he won't be able to remove it.
Right, I'm just trying to keep a tally here of who's got 5-second penalties that are going to get removed at the end of the race, because this could turn into carnage very, very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. My A-level math skills didn't quite think they'd come into useful as trying to remember my 5 times table, but you never know what's going to happen when you're doing league racing commentary. And with that DRS, Joost has really been able to catch up to the back of Matthew Older as now the other Red Bull. And we've got the hat of Lars and Fusilio battling. Lars pretty much shoving his way through at turn number 7. That can't end well, side by side through the castle section. And that is Duncan with massive front wing damage.
Well, not for the first time this season. And yeah, his season is sadly kind of collapsing a little bit after what we saw in the USA last week. And yeah, you can't go, you know, multiple cars in the castle section. It's physically impossible. Someone's always going to end up with damage. But yeah, this is sad. I mean, I'm not going to start ranting and raving about, you know, glitches in the game and stuff like that, but it's a sad thing to see, because the race was really interesting tactically up to that point, and it was really shaping up to be a really thrilling race. And for the time being, I think it's Fede's desynced car, so hopefully somehow he might have to retire the car, and that might fix the issue, because it says he's 5 laps down. He definitely isn't.
I think you've seen the same thing as me. Yost got a drive-through penalty for speeding. There was a VSC there because of that crash at the Classel section, and that... I mean, we've still got yellow flags showing on the track map, but they're not showing in the top left-hand corner, so now it's even more confusing.
Yeah, it seems like it's green running now. I mean, there's no yellows on the board. Oh yeah, I can see them now again. It definitely went green very briefly on my screen. But yeah, if that through use as a drive-through, which you have to serve in 3 laps or get disqualified. So yeah, that will send him virtually to the back of the field. So that is massive, and that's potentially massive with the Constructors' Championship as well.
Yeah, but that could be huge in the Constructors' Championship at the moment. Yost is, well, he's got that 5-second penalty, which he'll get removed, but that's not going to help you a lot if you're way down the back of the order. There was definitely some sparks coming through the Castle section there. No, not Wilson Hughes taking a holiday in Azerbaijan. I wonder whether Blizzard had just got a bit too close to the walls, but in the end, he has got away with that one. He's in the lead of this race. Yost is behind him with a drive-through penalty. I imagine he's going to want to serve that as soon as possible, but look how far down the field he's going to come. He's going to be ahead of Fusilio, but all the way down in 16th position. Any chance of a points finish, barring a full safety car, goes well out of the window for our champion.
I know. I mean, it's just desperately unlucky for Yost. I mean, again, I'm sure he would have been away. Yeah, he's going to serve straight away, and I think that's the right call. He's going to overtake Mitchie, and he's going to take the time penalty and take his chances. But again, of course, if they have to pit again, he'll have to serve it. But yeah, Yost, I mean, this is painful. He is gesticulating to race control Michael Massey. What is going on? And the whole track has just gone green.
Hooray! It's all I can say. I'm not going to get too excited, but the whole track has gone green here, folks. So Paxi, he did pick up a 5-second penalty in that, but he will be able to get that one removed. I am certain of it. Mitchie all over the back of him at the moment, and that time penalty for Yost for drive-through penalty for Yost, our champion, has meant Matthew Alder can build up a bit of a gap here. So he's looking pretty good to get a 3rd podium in a row. Would be the first time this season. It would be his 2nd win out of those 3 races. A really good end to the season. And who knows, he could still mathematically tie on points with Yost here in the championship. And this would help AlphaTauri take the lead in the Constructors. And they've been gaining ever so slightly, a few points at a time. Definitely one of the in-4 teams at this moment in time. The driver who's doing a good job at the moment, Benjamin, lead car on the hard tyres, building up a bit of a gap ahead of some of those on the mediums. Not under any DRS pressure from Lars, and you'd think in the next 3 or 4 laps, things are going to start flying towards him as he's flying his way over the curb at turn 15.
Yeah, particularly as the rear tyre wear seems to be quite severe for some of these drivers already. Daneko, of course, the earliest of the top drivers on the softs pit early on. He's got 32% wear on the rears already, and 30% rear for George's now as well behind him. So yeah, it could be pretty tricky for some of these drivers late on in the race without another safety car. I think they'll make it, but it's not going to be optimum performance, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're nearly going 3 wide here on the run down to turn 1. It is Sam Corbe, Cornet and Walters, both Sam and Cornet managing to get ahead of the Alpine driver, so he drops from 9 to 11th, and you've got Asacombe and Casper battling on the exit as well. Casper managing to stay ahead in 12th place with slightly fresher tyres than the Ferrari. Both of them pitting quite early on for those set of the mediums, and that could end up just costing them at the end of the race. And Asacombe, in fact, weaving to the left-hand side, almost as if he's trying to get some cool air inside that car. It can get quite hot, of course, around street circuits. Not a lot of airflow. Duncan sets the fastest lap of the race on his way to passing Fusilio in 17th. The last 2 races have been desperately unlucky for the Mercedes man. I mean, the last time out, absolutely blameless with that incident with Xander. This time, maybe you could have said he'd have backed out, but he saw Fusilio offline and thought, well, I might as well try my luck here. Unfortunately for him, the Castle section, not a part of the circuit where you really want to be trying your luck.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have the best pace in qualifying, which tends to be his main weakness, but he was in a solid position. But then, yeah, the safety car, the time of it could not have been worse for him after he pitted, and then he's had to try and fight his way through traffic. And unfortunately, yeah, it's just one of those midfield incidents that can happen in racing. And yeah, that's just compromising as old Benjamin goes extremely deep, and that's going to make it very easy for Lars to get ahead. I'm not sure who went through the activation point first, so Sam gets ahead as well, so he might have a chance. Cornet may try and get ahead of him as well. It's looking pretty exciting. this is crucial because Cornet, of course, is a full-time driver for AlphaTauri, so all these extra points really swinging the constructors into AlphaTauri's favour. As up ahead, Lars gets overtaken by Sam Corby. Sam Corby now up into P7. Cornet's going to try and go round the outside of Lars, who does a nice bit of defending there. Aggressive, but just about fair, I would say, to hold on to that P8.
Yeah, well, holds on to all of that in the end. We've seen Benjamin has come into the pits and put on a set of medium tyres. I'm not sure whether he tried to get the DRS there or just ran a bit deep, pushing those hards as much as he dares, but they're not the greatest tyre at the moment. As Casper down the inside, he takes 10th position, as we've thankfully got a yellow flag only appearing in one part of the track. I hope that is the last time I have to say that. And I definitely shouldn't have said it, that was the last time I have to say that, as we get one straight afterwards. The game just toying with me ever so slightly there. Now, pad tyre wear generally tends to be higher than what it is on the wheel. Michi has done an extra lap than Paxi. Tyre wear about 2% more, so not too much. But he's nearly outside of the DRS range, and that could be good news for Georgia's Daneyko and Jordan behind.
Yes, I think so. And Sam Colby's definitely one to look out for. He's only on 7 laps on those mediums. He's going on nicely. So he might be able to catch a couple of the drive. Daneyko may be in a bit of bother at the end of the race. He's got nearly 40% wear on his rears for the mediums. And he was the earliest to stop, as we mentioned, of those on this early on. But yeah, Lars now trying to challenge back Cornet. I think Cornet will be trying to play percentages here. Really nice sweeping section there from Cornet right on the back of Lars, and he's going to try and get Lars try to sweep a little bit. The overspeed that Cornet's got just superior, and given the speed he's got, he might actually be able to challenge Sam, but I think if he's sensible he won't go for a dive here. But oh no, yeah, pretty sensible from Cornet there. 1 place gain, now it's able to attack the Cornet on the next lap.
Yeah, he has got 40% less ERS though, so he might find it a bit hard to attack even with the DRS here. Sam Corby doing a pretty good job, using a tiny bit of that ERS as Jordan down the inside of Daneyko takes 5th position. That's Jordan just trying to fight to get back onto Georgia's and Michi, who has really caught up to the back of Paxi. So I wonder if there was a slight mistake from the Alpine driver last time around, because he's now nearly 2 seconds off the back of Alder. Michi is back within DRS range. Jordan trying to get back within DRS range, and Sam Corby leading this train of himself, Cornet and Lars. Casper has just fallen off the edge of that. He's in the final points position, and it is Walters, Asacombe and Joost in 13th place. He could still pick up some points in this race, but definitely not what he'd have wanted.
No, yeah, I mean, it's just not been a good day for Mercedes, and the last. Oh, here we go again.
Here we go again. It's time to get the spreadsheet up of how many penalties. That was nice and quick. I think Michael Massey must have just fallen asleep on the button. How dare he fall asleep during a race like this? Plenty of action going on around the Baku City circuit. Here we are on board then with Cornet. A lot less ERS than the Williams up ahead of him. And of course, Frank Williams sadly passing away in our break week. Our thoughts are with his family and all of those involved with the Williams team. It'd be great to see them putting in a good performance here, but unfortunately, looks like one of those cars is going to get overtaken. There goes Cornet down the inside in towards 7th place. Even more good news then for AlphaTauri. They are currently on for 20 points in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes are on for 1. Red Bull are getting 0.
Yeah, Joost is stuck behind Walters and Asacombe and Casper, who are all getting DRS of each other. But yeah, Joost getting very good drive on Walters, so might be able to get buff from P12. Yeah, he's going to go for it, and Asacombe going for a move on Casper up ahead. That's a nice move from Asacombe, I have to say. Casper very fair, gave him plenty of room, unlike some drivers we saw yesterday. But enough about that. Joost up to P12, so yeah, Joost may still have a chance of getting back into the points, particularly if he gets that penalty removed afterwards.
Yeah, so Joost is effectively in 12th position at the moment. If we get the penalties up, he's got 5 seconds. Paxi has 8. Those 5 seconds will get removed off both of theirs. Fusilio's 3 seconds and the other 3 seconds for Paxi won't get removed unless they can prove they've been forced. Asacombe loses it through the castle section. That is a full safety car.
Oh, but who's going to gamble? Who's going to pit? I mean, is it worth pitting now? I think Daneyko, I think he'd be tempted to, because he's got horrible rear tyre wear, and he has got a gap to Cornet behind him, which means I think the crucial thing is the gap to Casper. That's the one to keep an eye on, It's that gap between Cornet, Corbet, and Lars, and then there's that big gap to Casper behind. So will the leaders pit? This is huge for the race. Blizzard's gonna stay out. Paxi's gonna stay, and George's pits. George's pits, big call, and Jordan as well. Daneko, I knew he would pit. He had no choice really. I don't think he was going to reach the end of the race on his tyres. Sam is in, Lars is in. Cornet carries on actually. So, this is very, very interesting indeed.
Sometimes you've got to pull it all on red, sometimes you've got to put it all on black, and they've gone for the black round things with the red stripes on. The soft tyres for George's. Jordan, Daneko, Sam, Corby as well coming out of the pits, not really losing too much in all of that. Lars, a lot of those further down the order deciding to come into the pits. Paxi maybe staying out because he thinks if I pit, then yes, I get a set of soft tyres, but I've got a 5-second penalty to serve in all that. If I stay out, I could probably get that penalty removed, but I will be on a worse set of tyres. This race just takes another twist with 7 laps remaining. It'll probably be, what, 6 remaining maybe when the... Maybe even 5 probably when the safety car comes in. It is Matthew Alder in the lead of this race. Paxi second. Mitchie in third. Cornet fourth. Will G in fifth. George's lead car on a set of the soft tyres. He's going to be one to watch because his traction is going to be so far superior of those on the mediums ahead of him. I mean, Will's rear tyres, 30 and 34% at this moment in time. Going to be struggling out of turn 1 and turn 2, you'd imagine.
Yeah, the softs though do burn up very quickly, so Georges will not have too much time to take full advantage of that. Maybe, you know, in terms of ultimate performance, 4 laps at most. They do wear, especially the rears, very quickly. But I think that was a nothing to lose call from Georges, and yeah, you know, I would have made the same call in his position, no question. And you know, huge potential now for Georges, Jordan, and Daneko and the rest to gobble up the top 5. And what Matthew Alder will be hoping is that the 4 behind him are basically a barrier to him. You know, they all squabble, maybe damage themselves a little bit trying to get through, because Matthew made a great restart last time around. He will employ the exact same tactic, I have no doubt about that. And he serves his time penalty so that he won't have to worry about that now. But because of that, he has lost a few places in the queue, so he's now back down to P14.
Yeah, and an interesting one. The car just ahead of him, Casper, of course, because he started on a fresh set of soft tyres, hasn't got another fresh set of soft tyres. He's had to go onto the medium, so it could be pretty tough for him to get any points in this race. Cornet has slight damage to his front wing, left end plate 10%, so he might struggle a bit more than those around him when this safety car comes in, just trying to warm his tyres up at this moment in time as Jordan gets a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Daneko. Again, he should be able to get that one removed because maybe even he could get on the podium in this race. There is so much things to do. Joost gets another one for ignoring yellow flags. He's absolutely sick to death of getting different penalties of the stewards in this race. I agree with you. I think Matthew's in a good place here. It depends on how quickly Georges can get through these cars and whether that's enough time to Matthew to build that 1-second gap. Judging by the first restart, he needs 2 corners to build that 1-second gap. Don't know whether he'll find it quite as easy this time, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, I mean, it depends if it's a glitch or not, but if you got that 5 seconds for literally ignoring the delta, then I'm not sure he'd get that removed, but we'll have to see in the stewards, won't we? But yeah, Ben just behind him, Duncan a little bit of a reprieve, but it's still going to be very difficult for him to get points because it's going to be a monster of a DRS train a couple of laps after the restart. So I suspect they should be restarting now. And yeah, Fede's car is just not sure what it's doing. It's so out of sync it may as well be on the planet Jupiter. That's how far away from Baku it is at the moment. I mean, 4 laps down. He obviously isn't actually 4 laps down, but yeah, it's a shame. I think if he retired the car, it probably wouldn't be the issues. It's not his fault, just to be clear. But it's definitely causing a few issues. But here we go then. Mitchie still in a great position. I think every neutral who watches this tier every single week will be cheering them on to get the points. And yeah, the safety car is in a bit quicker than I expected. So here we go. Restart, and Blizzard, he will be employing the same tactics.
Yes, going for the same thing that he did earlier on, of course. It worked to absolute perfection last time around, and I imagine Pax has been watching that and almost wondering if we'll see Matthew go for the same part. Now, you can't really try and predict when the car in front of you goes, because if you end up overtaking them and you have to back off, that's when the car in front of you will go, and you'll get it absolutely wrong. If you back off now, then Blizzard will just streak away. So all you've got to do is to try and react, which is a lot easier said than done. And there we go. I think Matthew was trying to go quite a bit earlier on than last time around. Paxi sort of staying with him to make sure he's not under any pressure from behind. Who is under some pressure is Mitchie, though, from Cornet, as now we've got Benjamin and Yost with more penalties, I think. But there we go. Great restart from Blizzard. Paxi hangs on to second. Mitchie was under a bit of pressure from Cornet, but managed to hold on to that. Will was all over the back of the AlphaTauri as well. Georges going with Will here. We've got a yellow flag in sector 1. I think that's Benjamin, who's had an issue. He's off track. Not sure whether he's got any damage. Can't really tell from that angle. Not too much changes out of the front of the field. It is still, well, I think the front 10 cars in the same order as what they were when the safety car came in, but now they're not, because Georges and Will are starting to battle, and there's the traction, there's the pace that the Alfa Romeo's got round the outside at turn number 5. Had the racing line, was able to take that. Georges is up into 5th. Reminder that Paxi has a 3-second penalty that he probably won't be able to get removed, so he only needs to pass one more car here, Georges. He's on the podium.
Yeah, he's got an enormous opportunity to win this race. His traction is so much more superior, and Will G has a comically large gaggle of cars behind him. I think he's going to get absolutely swamped. Jordan is going to try and pressure him in turn 16. Surely he's not going to go for a move here. That would be near suicidal, so Will G will defend the position. Yeah, so what happened with Benjamin was Yus went for a move around the outside of Casper. Benjamin came down the inside, but then as they recovered out turn 1, Benjamin got pinched and spun round, so sadly he is now at the back of the field.
Yeah, and good news for Blizzard. Georges has picked up a 3-second time penalty, and that's good news for Cornet as well. And the Alfa Romeo and the AlphaTauri getting very close together, almost trying to make a baby other Alpha team in all of this. Georges up into 4th place there, but he does have that penalty. Jordan gets ahead of Will. Daneko is going to come flying through as well, and I can't imagine Will's going to provide too much resistance to his teammate here. In fact, he almost loses it on the curb coming out of turn number 1. There's contact between the two Williams there, and here comes Lars trying to get down the inside of Will G as well. Not able to do so, and that's going to allow Walters an opportunity. There is so much action going off at the end of this race. Will on the inside, Lars is in the middle. Walters realising he's not going to make it all the way around the outside there. Can he get the cutback though on Lars? Very opportunistic driving there, and Lars sends one straight up the inside. Once again, these two getting incredibly close together, and it's just costing all of them time. To the cars ahead of them, still Lars is trying to fight off, and in the end, I think he is going to hold on to that position. But look how much time they've lost to Will, and look how much time Will's lost to his teammate, as Jordan and Cornet now trying to go side by side through the castle section, and Cornet backs off.
I think Yakiza was trying to do a double overtake just before the car section. I was like, nah, come on. I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's never gonna happen. But yeah, Paxi could easily have overtaken Blizzard on the main straight, but he just knows that, you know, if he does it, he's just going to get re-passed. But he's going to have to. It is a case of pass or be passed at this stage. He's got to think about it. I think Georges could take both Paxi and Matthew right here, right now, as he charges up everything he's got to go on full assault for the lead of this race.
Yeah, here comes Jordan's trying to get ahead of Mitchie as well, and I think Daneko's getting ahead of Cornet, so there's all sorts of moves happening here. Here comes Paxi. He's not bothering to go for it again, and I think Georges is saying, well, I'll try to go for the outside. All the way around the outside tries Paxi. Will he get the cutback on the exit of the corner? No, he won't, and those two, well, there's 3 cars still fighting tooth and nail at this moment in time. If I was Paxi, I'd be going for it to try and build a bit of a gap up, because you have got that 3-second time penalty unless he thinks he can get it removed. Here he comes this time. Matthew Alder goes defensive to the inside, and again Paxi not willing to go for it. Georges tries to chuck one up the inside. Almost ends up losing his front wing and maybe even a wheel there. Very close. The front 3 stay as they are. And that's brought Jordan back into things as well. Now his penalty is 5 seconds, and that's for contact under the safety car, so he may well get that removed, but Mitch is still possibly on for second place here.
Yeah, but he is under enormous pressure now. He's being attacked left, right and centre by these soft runners, and he's starting to drop down the field. Come on, Mitchie, hang on for Aston Martin, get those points. But yeah, I'm not sure what Georges was thinking there. I mean, Paxi and Matthew were already in that corner, already turning in when he dived in. He was never really going to get that done, and he nearly destroyed his car. But luckily, miraculously, got away with damage. still has a chance to win this race.
Mitchie trying to fight on there against Sam Corby. They were going side by side from 14 and 15, and I just saw carbon fibre in my visions of what was about to happen through that part of the circuit. Right, another try for Paxi, another try for Georges to try and get ahead of Matthew Alder, and Georges is a lot closer to the back of the Alpine this time around. He's going to go for it before the corner. In fact, Blizzard's going to find himself sort of in the middle here and just lose it out. They're going 3 wide on the run down towards turn 1 with 2 laps to go, and it is Georges who just comes out ahead for now. Paxi in second, Blizzard in third place, almost losing it on the curb. Can he fight back against Paxi? And how much of a gap is Georges going to be able to build in the next couple of laps? If he gets 3 seconds away, he can still win this race despite that penalty. They're all trying to weave and break the slipstream down the straight, but it is Georges now in the lead of the race, and this is a part of the track where he needs to use the grip of those fresh soft tyres.
Yeah, and he has a significant wear advantage over the 2 drivers behind him who have only made the 1 pit stop. Maybe starting to regret their decision at this stage. Mitchie's dropped down to 7th. He's got Lars right alongside him and heroically fights him off at the end of sector 1. Lars going to try and come back at him into the next corner, but has to wait for the timing. Use now into the points. Although it does have a lot of time penalties, whether it will be removed, we'll have to find out later on. But he is back in the points in what has been the most difficult race Use has had since the opening round at Bahrain.
Yeah, pretty much always in the points, I think, apart from that opening round at Bahrain. And who knows, with the way this race is going, he might still end up getting points here. Georges has got a second away from Paxi, and now Blizzard, he's not really challenging the back of that Alpha Tauri. It's an incredibly long flat out section. He's going to need every single bit of that, I think, to get anywhere near close to overtaking the Alpine driver. Do not write Georges off for taking the victory in this race, because he's already 2 seconds ahead of the next car that doesn't have any penalties, with just 1 lap remaining at the end of this one. Jordan's on the back of Matthew, not really close enough. Danirko trying to close in. There's red lights flashing all over the place here. Walters gets ahead of Lars, who gets ahead of Mitchie as well. It is all kicking off onto the final lap of the race, and Joost is now up into 9th. I'm starting to get a sinking feeling for Mitchie that he might end up missing out.
Yeah, Yakiz is right behind him. Oh, why didn't he pit? He should have pitted. I just feel so bad for him, because I just don't think he's going to hang on. But as
Danirko sent it down the inside of Jordan, I think there. Sorry to interrupt, Mark. He sent it to try and defend from Sam Corby, and in the end almost ended up taking out Jordan, and Blizzard has managed to get back ahead of Paxi. He's just got to try and not lose an extra 1.2 seconds on this final lap.
Yes, it's going to be a tall order for Georges now, because the best of those softs are now behind him. He's got to find another second in 2 sectors to win his race. 2.1, 9/10 he needs to win his race. Oh, Paxi's hit the wall! Paxi's hit the wall! Oh, it's big damage for Paxi. Oh, he's going to lose place after place. It's all kicking off behind him. But yeah, Paxi, his podium chance had gone. Use is right behind him. But yeah, got it all wrong at the castle section.
Just got it all wrong at the castle section. Very lucky that he didn't end up retiming. Oh, contact is closed on Joost there, who has gone round. And I think Joost starting to wonder, why on earth did he bother coming to this race? Because everything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong. And Georges, well, unless we see Matthew Ola have a massive spin through a flat-out section, he's not going to end up taking the win, but he will take it out on track. It is going to be the first man across the line is going to be Georges in the Alfa Romeo, but it is going to be a 3rd victory of the season for Matthew Alder. He takes the win. Sam Corby takes 2nd place in the end. Walters takes 3rd. Danirko in 4th. Georges all the way down to, I think, 9th position in the end. Did he pick up an extra penalty towards the end of the race that we must have missed?
Yeah, it must have done, I guess. I can't see the penalties now because of the checkered flag. But yeah, I don't remember who gave the 2nd penalty, but obviously so much going on, so many penalties. Maybe it was one of those 5-second ones. Over to you, Stuart, to sort that one out. But yeah, Mitchie finished in the points. Aston Martin have broken their duck. They finally have some points after so many disastrous races for them.
I think with 1 corner to go, we once have predicted Matthew, Sam Corby and Walters to be the podium. 1.5 tenths further back for Sam. He's finishing off of the podium. Danirko nearly managing to sneak onto a podium in all of this chaos. Lars getting a good result in 5th. Jackie to 6th. Mitchie, like you said, in 7th place. Duncan managing to recover to 8th, but I think that is Mercedes now out of the Constructors' Championship battle, and with Blizzard taking the victory, just trying to do some quick maths here, I think it was the only AlphaTauri to end up scoring. I believe that gap is provisionally 2 points in the championship now. Red Bull are ahead of AlphaTauri, but I would bet a large sum of money that is going to change in the stewards.
Yes, I think, although we definitely know that Use will not be getting any points after, unfortunately, suffering a midfield incident late on in the race. But yeah, stewards are going to be very busy for this tier. Lots of penalties, but I think a lot of them were, of course, caused by those yellow flag glitches. But yeah, huge congratulations, Blizzard. He kept his head. No penalties again. I mean, this is a new side to Blizzard. So often he's like lost results from sloppy penalties, but he's had a lot of races recently where he's not picked up any. So it's a side of his game that he's really improved, and married to that speed, he'll be kind of disappointed this form wasn't there for him in the second half of the season, because he's like, you know, in terms of the points he scored more than anybody in the last 3 races.
Maybe it's just that extra bit of practice, just getting used to the game a bit more, starting to help him. But it is Matthew Alder who takes the victory in this race. Sam Corby in second, Walters third, Daneko fourth, Lars is fifth, Jakita in 6th place, Mitch is 7th, Duncan 8th, Georges is 9th place. I think he's actually because of the desync from the start.
Yeah,
so
must be.
He could very easily get bumped back up into, I think, possibly 2nd position here. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe if not 3rd. Jordan in 10th. Casper 11th. Will, Cornet, Paxe, Fusilio, Yost, the final finishers. Benjamin, Asacombe, Fede, and Ogiano, the retirements. I sort of feel sorry for Fede because he might end up thinking he's won that race with all the desyncs that were happening. An absolutely crazy race from start to finish. Kind of what you expect to see at Baku now.
Yes, I think it was a crazy race in the right spirit, though, unlike another race we saw yesterday. But yes, I think even with the desync stuff, I think it's pretty clear that Matthew won that race. But yeah, I think Jordan will get that 2nd place reinstated because he only had a 3-second time penalty. Had a quick look at his director, so I think you're right. I think that there was a lot of desync going on there. But yeah, I hope when all the penalties sorted out, Mitchie still has the points because I think he had a great drive today. Really, really strong for Aston Martin. He just unfortunately just caught out by that late safety car, didn't pit, and then just got swamped by softs. We've all been there. We've all made that call and it hasn't worked out. But yeah, Sam 2nd provisionally. I think that might be 3rd in the end from 3rd team. So that's a really good drive. Walters again. But yeah, a day to forget for Used. I mean that's the most difficult race he's had in it. And to be honest, it all started with the glitches. You got that drive through, which was likely a glitch, and then suddenly it just all collapsed for him from there. So through no fault of his own, I think Use will feel very hard done by, and that has, as you say, really blown the race for the constructors wide open. 2-point gap provisionally between Red Bull and AlphaTauri now, which makes Brazil a must-see next week.
Yeah, certainly. It does make it a must-see for next week. Trying to just work out who to send into the podium interviews here, and I think we're going to stick with the 3 that ended up getting it due to the game, just because there's so many different drivers that I think have got a claim to possibly get a podium there. Like you said, an absolutely crazy race, but Matthew, it's just, I think, ever since maybe a bit of pressure from fighting for the championship, ever since that's become a very long shot after the Japanese Grand Prix, where he only finished 9th. He's had a 1st, a 3rd, and now a 1st. Really the man in form, and it's helped AlphaTauri get so close to the constructors.
Yes, it has certainly really been a big turnaround because Red Bull had a huge lead a few races ago after Japan, I should say. And yeah, Blizzard has led the fight back for AlphaTauri. I think, yeah, Mercedes and McLaren are out of it, I think, mathematically now. Duncan, another race to forget for him. We did manage to recover back into the points in the end, but yeah, we'll have to have a look to see what happens in terms of the stewards. But yeah, I think we'll have to try and piece that together. I'm pretty sure that Georges should be in the podium interviews because I think he was legitimately on the podium. I think it was just desync.
Yeah, we are trying to. We're hearing here. This is actually from Sam. He's saying he thinks it should be Matthew, Georges, and Jordan on the podium. So I think he's pretty much admitting here that Georges and Jordan are actually going to be on the podium. So I should actually re-invite them. So
yeah,
apologies for this, folks. But as you can see, it is quite crazy. at this moment in time, just trying to work things out. We thought real life F1 stewards had it quite hard. They should try it in the virtual world with all sorts of desyncs. In the end, those random yellow flag periods, I don't think had a effect on the result.
Yeah, well, I think Hughes might argue that, given what happened to him under those glitches. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I think the stewards will be busy because of a lot of glitches like that. But hopefully, the right result will be established in the end, and that is what the main thing is. So, I will leave you, Luke, to conduct those interviews. A great race tonight, and massive congratulations to Matthew on another great performance, and whoever the rest of the podium will turn out to be.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for a fantastic commentary. He has got to rush after now, but we will head over to the podium interviews from what was one of the craziest races I've commentated on in a long, long time. But we'll start with the man who we think no matter what happens in the stewards afterwards, he has taken his third win of the season, and I think pretty much secured second place in the championship. It is Matthew Alder. An absolutely crazy race, but you've kept it clean once again, and you've been rewarded with a victory. Tell us how it feels.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, Baku, walls are close. I mean, good chance of wing damage, but I didn't get any single piece of wing damage. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, is that something you was working on around here? Because obviously with the street circuit, walls always being closed, sometimes it's better to maybe have a setup that's not as fast, but just more consistent.
Well, you're always working on that. You know, every street track is always going to be a threat of getting the wing damage, so you always got to be aware and make sure that you never just like zone out and just randomly hit the wall. So.
Yeah, certainly. 2 points behind Red Bull now in the Constructors' Championship. You're looking like you're in good form. Is that what you're aiming for the final race?
I mean, yeah, I'll be just hoping to get as best as possible and hope Cornet can bring the result for the final race as well. Get the Constructors, at least, I mean, may not got the drivers, but Constructors at least something.
Yeah, certainly. And is Brazil a track you're looking forward to for the final race?
I don't really know how it is in this game, so I have no idea if I'm going to be good at it or not, but I was kind of just average on the last games at it.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But congratulations on another victory. I'll let you head off.
Thank you.
And now we'll head over to the man who we believe is in second place, despite the game deducting him down to 8th or 9th. It is George's. A fantastic recovery drive from you. Massive shame about that disconnection at the start.
Yes, I couldn't believe it at first. I had a good quality, and then just on the formation lap, got disconnected. But the race went pretty good, except for some FPS things. I wasn't actually happy with my pace, to be honest. I was struggling a bit with FPS and the lag, but surprised I still managed to get P2.
You seem to be absolutely on fire around this circuit tonight. Has it always been a circuit that suited you, or do you just feel like things just came together today?
To be honest, I've never done a league race at Baku before. Not even in 2020, because I'm pretty new to the league racing stuff. So I'm actually surprised that I managed to still have a good result. I had recently switched to TV Pod, and I'm feeling much more comfortable. So I think that might help. That might have helped me today.
Yeah, now that you have, of course, switched to the TV Pod, because you were one of the crazy people many people thought to end up carrying on with the cockpit cam. What's your hopes and ambitions now for next season? You've had a few podiums this year. Is race wins the only hope for next year, or do you think you could possibly challenge for this championship?
Well, that was the plan at the beginning of the season. I started off well, fighting with Hughes and Matthew, but then started having problems with FPS and cockpit cam, and obviously that was the reason behind me changing to TV Pod. It helped me resolve my issue. But I'm hoping to get a new PlayStation 5 for this Christmas. Hopefully I won't be having any issue with FPS, and now that, it's all down to me, I could hopefully fight for the championship, as you said.
Yeah, I'd love to say it cures game crashes, but unfortunately, I think I've proven on a few occasions it doesn't. Congratulations on the second place, Georges. I will let you head off.
Thank you so much.
And now the man who I think we can almost confirm as being in third place, it is VSR Jordan. So much going on in that race. You were quite eventful, especially given the fact that you started in the lower end of the top 10. Tell us about how it went for you tonight.
Yeah, I first got a bit of a dodgy qualifying. I had some traffic in my first sector, which made me lose a lot of time, but nonetheless, I drove a pretty good race, I think. Pace wasn't really there on the softs, so I wanted to go pretty early onto the mediums. And then with the safety car, I wanted to do the opposite at the guys in front. So I saw Matthew and Paxi staying out. So I thought, yeah, this is the time to go in, because we also had a bit of a gap behind us. So I came out on brand new soft nearly in P7, which made it a great opportunity to fight for the podium in the last 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, and it looks like we said on stream, you almost certainly will get your penalty removed. So it looks like you will end up getting that podium. How difficult was it fighting through the traffic? Because you and Paxi came very close together on a few occasions.
Yeah, it's of course it's a street circuit. Walls are just beside you. So if you brake too late trying to overtake someone, your race is over. So I was very calculating with my driving.
Yeah, definitely the best place to be. Looks like you are going to be best of the rest this season, finishing in 4th place in the championship. It looks like you will secure that now, depending on what happens in the final race. What are your aims for next season? There's a few questions about which drivers are moving over to PC. Is that something that's tempting you? Or will you be going for the Season 30 title on the PlayStation?
I always lack a lot in FPS drops and sound drops. I had the same this race, but some other drivers have that too, so no excuse. But the PC, my computer is ready and running, so I'm probably gonna focus on that next season in WoW and PSGL.
Well, there you go. Caden, if you're listening, there's an exclusive scoop for League Racing News. Jordan looking as though he's moving over to PC. Congratulations on the podium. I'll let you head off.
Yeah, thank you for commentating in the stream.
No worries whatsoever. It was an absolute pleasure for what was an absolutely crazy Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Kind of what we expected. And we're going to be doing it all again in 1 week's time for the season finale, where the Constructors' Championship is still up for grabs. Provisionally, 2 points Red Bull now only ahead of AlphaTauri. Will Yost end up claiming a double championship alongside the drivers, or will Blizzard and Cornet get that Constructors' Championship for the junior team? There is plenty more action though in the week. Wednesday we see Tier 3 going in the PC, Tier 2 on Thursday in the PC. Hopefully it'll be a bit cleaner than it was this Thursday. Lower PlayStation tiers on Thursday and Sunday. The top 8 tiers on the Monday, with myself and Mark at 8 PM once again. Thank you to Mark for joining me earlier on. Thank you for the drivers for joining me for the podium interviews and for providing what was an absolutely scintillating race here in Baku. And we will see you in a week's time from Interlagos. Goodbye.